my name is Andrew Chua. For many years, actually, I was working as a banker internationally in many different countries. About 2.5 years ago, I did my core process with Nick Heap. At that time, I was thinking anyway of leaving the bank and starting up my own business in putting together workshops for people for personal development. So that's kind of my background. So I did my core process about 2.5 years ago. I'm living in Hong Kong. I did some research online and I found this thing called the core process, which I was quite interested in. So I contacted Nick Heap, and then we just did the core process over Skype. My core process is transfiguring lives. It's a bit like transforming lives, but I prefer the word transfiguring because it has for me anyway, it has something to do with not just transformation, but transforming into something that has meaning and purpose. So transfiguring is, for me, has a more spiritual edge to it, and I like that word. No, I've only done core process 1. Core process is actually, I find it very helpful. It's one of those things that help you to focus in life. I think after doing my core process, I could put my finger on the reasons why certain things were more interesting for me, why I was more passionate about certain things and less interested in other things. So for me now, it serves as a major filter in my life to work out the kind of projects that I want to put my energy towards and the things that I want to do in life. So I would say that most of my life today revolves around my core process, which I find very satisfying and engaging. I would say both my personal and professional life. But one of the things that I've always wanted to do was, I've been a question that's sort of haunted me, if you like, for many years has been the question of human potential. I've always asked myself, why is it that so many people on this planet never fulfill the purpose for which they've been given the gift of life? And so I put together a workshop that help people discover who they are and what is it that they want to do deep within them. And so actually it's in the process of that quest of putting that workshop together that I discovered the core process. And so now I integrate the core process really into the workshop that I run. Yeah, I guess you could say it's a professional tool. It provides one facet of a person's helping people to identify who they really are. I think one of the things I discovered about people is that generally we have some sense of our identity, of our personality, but oftentimes we can't exactly put our finger on the essence of it. And I find the core process to be a very useful tool to help my clients and people that attend my workshops to actually get to the essence of their personality or their uniqueness, which I think is actually quite liberating when you find it for yourself. I've done core processes with all kinds of people, as young as 14-year-old to people in the 70s and 80s. I've done the core processes now in a number of different countries, in different languages. So I've done it in Chinese, in Russian, in Vietnamese as well. And I find actually the core process is probably helpful for everyone. I would say that probably for those who are younger, so if you are sort of in your teens, I guess it may be a bit more difficult because maybe there's not enough life experience from which you can draw in order to formulate your core process. Although something will come out. I mean, something will definitely come out. But I think it's more meaningful when you've had a bit more experience in life. Not at all. So that's one of the challenges, and sometimes you're never quite sure whether, if you're translating, whether or not is exactly right. But usually, for me, what I tend to do is if I look at the faces of people. So if they've hit on a core process, it usually shows somewhere in their expression. So you know that you've hit something quite deep and it works. So what I tend to do is that I would try and find some bilingual people before I do the core process, and so I'll run it with them in English, and then they tend then to help out when I sort of do the core process for the main group of people during the workshops that I run. I tend to do it before the workshop if I can, right? So I need to have a few people that have done the core process already. I find that actually with the core process, you can get quite far down the road just by giving out instructions. I tend to do it, using quite large sort of what do you call those things? A1 size paper, so it's a flip chart paper.
Flip charts, yeah.
Yeah, so people write out the words, on the flip chart, and we stick it on the walls with blue tack or something like that. And what happens is that I encourage people to actually look at what other people are doing, because oftentimes that gives the group some good ideas about words. Because quite often it's not so much about the ideas, but finding words to describe your experiences that's difficult for some individuals. So allowing people to look around to get ideas from other people seems to help many people. And then the difficult part is getting towards the end when you need to finalize those words. So that's what that's where it's a bit hit and miss when you have very large groups and when you're doing things in different languages. I would say the core process is it provides a piece of the jigsaw puzzle. So I tend to look at it as a tool that I want to integrate with other tools that I have that I use in my workshops. It's very helpful in itself, but I think it's been more helpful if you look at it in the context of other personal development tools, such as, for example, an inventory of your character strengths, or maybe some of the psychometric tools that we have available today for people. Ultimately, I guess my view of human development and personal development is about individuals making intentional choices about their identity. These tools, all they do is they surface possible traits, attributes about you as an individual, and you get meaning out of this when you then make a conscious decision or choice to accept or to reject or to modify the things that come out during that process. So it's about generating new insights about yourself that would then help you move forward in life. I would say that I think an area of interesting research, if people are interested in it, is that I see actually quite a lot of similarity between the core process and personal construct theory. So, because actually the both approaches try to articulate in your own words, so the client's own words, something that's meaningful for them, that may explain their behavior, things that sort of guide them and direct them. So I think there's a lot of similarity. From what I understand of core process 2 and 3, what is being done is really effectively laddering up and laddering down in the personal construct approach as well. So it sounds very similar to that. So I think there's probably it can be quite a rich area for research if these two things were to be combined. From a more general point of view, in other words, if you're just watching this video and online and you're wondering whether the core process is something that you would like to discover for yourself, then I would say unhesitantly that you should try and get your core process done, because it's very uplifting and it's very freeing for people. But things that I've found in common for most people when they've done their core process two words come up. The first word is freedom. A lot of people feel a lot freer once they discover their core process, because I think it helps people sort of escape the labels that are put on them, and it helps them to discover and own for themselves their own sense of purpose and meaning. So that's one. So in that way, you get a sense of freedom. And the second thing I find that people say is that it tends to help them discover their own voice. So in addition to that sense of freedom, they get a sense that actually their unique shape or their unique personality, as described by their core process, is something of value, not just for themselves, but for their friends, their families, their communities, their work colleagues. So they begin to feel more confident about the things they have to say and their perspective, the perspective that they bring to life and to issues. So I think, for me, I think it's certainly having talked to people that have done the core process, say a year and a half ago, I found that this is one of the things that really stuck with people. It almost changes people without too much effort or hard work, because it's quite deep within you.